Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
Funeral services are now set for a husband and wife found dead in their southern Kentucky home. Lewis and Carol Catron died Friday. Police say the cause was accidental. Both were very active in their community. Lewis's brother, Sam Catron, was once the sheriff in Pulaski County and was murdered in April of 2002. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on how the couple's death is impacting many.
Numerous first responders were called to Lewis and Carol Catron's home Friday, but the sheriff and his chief deputy also responded in hearing that both were found dead.
All the evidence points to the fact that it was strictly accidental, that the truck had been just left on.
The truck had been running in the garage, and the sheriff says Catron and his wife were found in the house. This was a difficult call, as Jones has known Lewis and his family for many years.
I told my wife that when I got home, I see these, but it makes it, when it's personal and this is somebody that I really had a lot of respect for, that it wears on your emotions. It really does.
I spoke with Lewis Catron many times right here at this spot, the spot where his brother Sam Catron was assassinated in April 2002. Lewis Catron was not a sworn law enforcement officer, but police work was a big part of his life.
And I talk on a regular basis, at least once a week we'll talk. He's been a part of this department for years. He's very concerned about this department. He loves this department.
Lewis Catron was also involved in the local rescue squad and the fire department and was part owner of Southern Oaks Funeral Home.
You could trust Lewis with anything, any task that you gave him. It was going to be done right.
Visitation services for both Lewis and Carol Catron will be at 5 o'clock Wednesday, the funeral at 1 o'clock Thursday. In Pulaski County, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
Lewis Catron also worked for the Kentucky Lottery and Food Fair in Pulaski County. His wife Carol had worked for the Pulaski County School System and the Palm Beach Company. A juvenile is charged with murder after a shooting in one southern Kentucky county. State police say it happened last night outside a home on Wagon Ridge Road in McCreary County. They say 36-year-old Robert Lowe Jr. was arguing with another adult when he was shot by a minor. State police arrested the boy and charged him with murder. He's now being held in the Adair County Youth Development Center. A special commissioner says a Southern Kentucky Circuit Court clerk should be fired. The Lexington Herald-Leader says a report shows Pulaski Circuit Clerk J.S. Flynn failed to report a sexual relationship with a female employee and retaliated against her when the relationship ended. It also says he harassed other women in the office. Flynn worked in the office under his grandfather and was appointed when his grandfather resigned. The state Supreme Court will now decide whether or not to remove Flynn. Flynn has denied most of the allegations against him. An early morning motorcycle crash leaves one man dead in Knott County. 45-year-old Billy Franks of Whitesburg was pronounced dead at the scene. WYMT's R.J. Johnson has more on why drivers need to stay aware.
Kentucky State Police is offering some tips of advice for motorcyclists and drivers following a crash that left one man dead early Monday morning in Knott County.
Our safety tips and what we encourage people to do start well before the ride does. We encourage everybody to make sure they inspect their bike, make sure it's all in working order, because as the summer months get started, we're going to see an increase in those motorcycles on the roadway, just to make sure we're doing our part to keep those motorcycles safe.
Kentucky State Police Trooper Matt Gayhart says to make sure you are looking for motorcycles and thinking twice before turning into the road.
Yeah, we just encourage people to make sure that they're looking for motorcycles. Oftentimes we see, obviously we're looking for vehicles, and vehicles are much larger than motorcycles, so sometimes we overlook those motorcycles and don't see them. So I just encourage the public to make sure that they're looking twice, check that intersection twice before you pull out on the roadway.
He says to make sure you are wearing protective and visible clothing, helmets, and other gear.
We want to make sure we're wearing something visible. Majority of our crashes happen when motorcycles are just simply not seen. So wearing something that's visible to other motorists can help.
The part of Highway 15 where the crash took place is at the light where ongoing construction is on the bridge, which is why he says you should never try to beat the light.
While this road work is going on, we have to remain patient. Going through the yellow light trying to speed up and get through it just to save yourself a few seconds of waiting on the opposite cycle can oftentimes spell disaster and cause maybe an accident.
Gayhart says to always pay attention, especially in intersections like this. In Knott County, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain News.
Gayhart says the cause of the crash is still being investigated, but says both folks who were driving motorcycles were wearing helmets. The search continues for a missing swimmer in Laurel County. We're told a young man was swimming with his friends and disappeared after jumping in the water at Laurel River Lake on Friday. Search crews were on the water using underwater equipment and divers to search for the swimmer. They have also used a scent searching canine. Officials tell WYMT that in other news, the Floyd County man is facing charges for his role in a reported weekend burglary case. That reportedly happened early yesterday morning at Grigsby Heights Apartments in the city of Martin. Officers from the Martin City Police Department were sent to the complex following a report of the suspect, 46-year-old Donnie Combs, trying to break into an apartment. Combs was arrested and faces several charges, including an outstanding criminal summons on harassment.
Beautiful blue skies area-wide today. It's been a great one out there. Low 80s currently at our station here in Buffalo Mountain, or at least from the view here. It's absolutely gorgeous. The view from downtown Pikeville, our Pikeville Medical Center camera, even nicer. They're sitting at 78. Beautiful outside. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this. In the middle of July, we're doing great out there. Upper 70s, low 80s region-wide. Manchester, the warm spot. Actually, that's wrong. Irvin's the warm spot now at 84. 83 in Manchester, 82, a cluster of them. Harlan, Jonesville, and Middlesboro. So we continue to stay on the nice side. Dew points are in the middle and upper 50s to near 60. So we're not dealing with the huge mugginess out there as you head through the evening hours here. 80 by 7 o'clock, falling into the mid-70s by 9 and falling into the 60s as we head on through tonight. But the cooler weather, well, let's just say 80 degrees at 7 o'clock is going to be something we're wishing for a while now here later this week. Those details in a few minutes.
Evan, thank you. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet's Office of Highway Safety is partnering with law enforcement to remind Kentuckians to slow down in their Not So Fast Kentucky campaign. The Office of Highway Safety has some tips for drivers. They say drivers should always wear their seat belts, give plenty of space to cars around them, and always obey the speed limit. State police say roughly 25% of crashes in Kentucky involve a speeding or aggressive driver. An Eastern Kentucky native is one step closer to becoming a professional baseball player. Former Lawrence County High School infielder Jackson Feltner has been selected 235th overall in the MLB draft by the Arizona Diamondbacks. He has played the last 3 seasons at Morehead State, where he was first team All-Ohio Valley Conference his whole career there. Nate Johnson will have more on this developing story a bit later in sports.